Hey class, it's me, Amber Dawn Seifert. I identify as a female. I'm 20 years old, a student here, and I'm a bisexual. And that's sort of how we introduced ourselves on the first day of class, so I thought it would be appropriate to introduce myself here that way. I'm just going to kind of talk about how I started and where I am now. The class is really interesting, and it's not a conventional classroom setup or lecture, notes, exams. It's a lot of just talking and learning from each other rather than just sitting and learning from one person and getting their perspective on the world. In the first paper I wrote, I talked about myself and how I sort of formed my perspective on the world. And I think I've just always had this really open mind when it comes to people and how they interact with each other. And I never sort of knew the evils of the world till I got to middle school, where I started public school. And that's where I learned that Santa wasn't real, and I learned like racial slurs for Mexicans because my stepsisters were Mexican and would like heckle them. I remember being so confused about why is this happening? Why are people so mean? And that's sort of just always been my mentality. Why are people so mean to other people? And this class has really opened my eyes to the atrocities that happen every day. When we had our guest speaker, Sam, from Pyramid Lake, he really opened my eyes to just the struggles that his people had and how he sort of transformed from who he was as a young person to who he is today, and how he uses his experiences to educate. And I really thought that was very respectable of him. And so we sort of transitioned from that to looking back in history. And so my historical reflection paper, I compared the protest that Colin Kaepernick started with taking a knee during the national anthem to Tommie Smith and John Carlos's protest during the 1968 Summer Olympics in Mexico City. And before this class, I don't think I would have been educated enough on the topic to really synthesize the two together. And now that we've sort of gained these different perspectives, they are so similar in the sense that at the beginning they were both just horribly ridiculed, and people just don't understand, but they did and are doing things for the betterment of people in this country. And I really admire all of these people that are just fighting for what they believe in, and it makes me jealous because I don't consider myself a courageous person, and when I see things happening around me that I know are wrong, in my heart I know they're wrong, and I want to stop them, and I want to say something, but I'm just so cowardice and scared, and whenever I try to make a point or say something I really believe in, my voice gets shaky and I just start crying because I'm just not emotionally stable enough to help myself, let alone help others around me. So, this class has really opened my eyes to different ways that I can help just by, stepping in and intervening and using my white privilege for the betterment of others. So I think that's really what I've taken away from this class, is that you don't have to go and stand on a stage and, rally people and be this social activist. You can do small things every day, like, just not acknowledging awful racist people, or not, helping clean up the stairwell when people paint swastikas, or bringing attention to the fact that there is definitely white privilege in this country and people just don't want to hear it. So at the end of the day, what I took away from this class is I already knew that everybody had their own way of viewing the world, and it's sort of trippy to think that we've all been living together on this planet and have seen completely different lives, even though we all sit in the same classroom from 6 to 8:45 every Thursday. We all are students here, and we have so many similarities, but each and every one of us in this room is so different, and the backgrounds of everybody and what everyone shared, I'll be grateful for this class for the rest of my life, for just learning so much about so many people. And you don't get experiences like this. You don't go out in the real world and walk up to someone and be like, oh, hey, tell me about your racial identity, and what is your sexual orientation. You don't just have these conversations in everyday life. So being able to come into this classroom for 2 hours and 45 minutes once a week, it's really eye-opening, and I don't know, I had a really good time in this class. So thanks everyone for sharing everything, and we all just got to know each other real well over a semester. So there you go.